Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Cell, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had. Probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, welcome in everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. Everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, Wild, Charter, CBS, NBC, Digital, and independent affiliates in select markets. Thanks for joining us there. Hotel Television, where applicable. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Check that group out, folks. Chicago Food Favorites, a fun group. Talk about your favorite foods, restaurants, recipes. Make some friends have some fun. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. A big welcome in to everybody else listening in on your streamer, your favorite streamer, whether it's Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iHeart, Stitcher, Deezer, all of those, plus a whole bunch more. Wow, lots and lots of people listening in lots of different places. No, folks, I don't read a script on that. I've just done this thousands of times, and you just kind of know after a while, if you know what I mean. Right? It's kind of that muscle memory. Well, by the way, our friends over at Vacation Buddies giving away a luxury 3-day, 2-night getaway right here in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or in Scottsdale, Arizona. If you know the answer to a simple trivia question, if you know the answer to the question I give you, call the number I give you right afterwards and pick up your luxury 3-day, 2-night getaway right here in Las Vegas, Orlando, or Scottsdale, Arizona. Here's the question. What city is home to the tallest building in America? That's it. What city is home to the tallest building in America? If you know the answer, call 702-603-1414, 702-603-1414. Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with this station, but they want you to have that 3-day, 2-night getaway right here in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or Scottsdale, Arizona. If you know the answer, 702-603-1414. Call now. Now, how many of us travel to go to our sporting events, our favorite sporting events or anything like that, whether it's even a concert or a professional sports game or whatever, college game, high school game, whatever it is. You know, I don't know about you folks, but I do quite a bit of that. And I have to tell you, it's not cheap. It certainly isn't cheap. And so let's just take, let's take an example. Okay, so I was born and raised in Chicago, and I think about the cost when I went to a baseball game when I was a kid, way back in the days when rabbit ears were on TVs. And it would take me a quarter to get on the L, which then turns into the subway when you get into downtown area. And then I was able to transfer at Washington and take a different train up to Wrigley Field. And I'd get off at Addison. And so it would cost me a quarter to get up to Wrigley Field. It would cost me $1 to get in. Not bad. It would cost me, of course, a quarter to get home. So I had 50 cents extra. And back then, a quarter for a hot dog, a quarter for a Coke. That's a pretty damn good day for $2. And so my buddy Jimmy and I used to go to every doubleheader. They had traditional doubleheaders, back-to-back games. Every year, they had several doubleheaders, right? They would make them up, and, well, let's face it, we had weather in Chicago, so lots of doubleheaders. And so not rescheduling games. Now they'd play them the next day or whatever the hell it was because of travel. Anyway, So for $2, I could go to 2 games, have a hot dog, have a Coke, and of course, drink from the water fountain, whatever, back when we were kids. That's what we always did. And so it was a cheap day, but it was a full day. And I'm sure the people in New York had a very similar opportunity. It was probably just a little bit higher, but to get on the train over there, get on the subway, go up to Yankee Stadium or go up to Flushing, New York, right, where the Mets are. And we think about the cost. You probably get away with the same thing for $3 or $4 over in New York, just like you would for a couple of bucks at Wrigley Field. And it would be a little bit more at Comiskey Park because the park was a little different, the seating was different. It probably cost about $3 for likely $2 for the ticket to get into the game. And then still the Coke and the hot dog were about the same. The transportation still the same. And I could take the Lake Street L from where I grew up in Oak Park all the way out to 35th and the Dan Ryan, which was where it still is, where the White Sox play, just under a different stadium name. And so back in the day, maybe $2, $3, all the way up to $4, whatever. Let's just call it $4. And let's just say New York, Chicago, LA, a little bit different because they didn't have the kind of transportation back in those days to go see a Dodger game or even an Angels game. So it's a little bit different, but you could get away with that in San Francisco. So there were trains, and of course, you can always take the bus. The bus was real cheap. So you can use technically the same argument. It's just the train was a little bit faster. So even in San Francisco, you can get to a game relatively cheap down at Candlestick Park. Of course, now they play up in that other park right next to the water. It's up in the city, which is a little bit of a different area. But you think about it. It'd probably cost you maybe $5 total out the door to go see Willie Mays play at Candlestick Park, that kind of thing. And you say, boy, it was cheap. Food was cheap. And yeah, there was still garbage in the food, but they weren't like spraying all kinds of aluminum, barium, cadmium, strontium, all that garbage, overhead back then so much as they are today. And you think of the cost of the whole day. Even if you drove your car, it wasn't that much. Gas was probably about 60 cents a gallon, 50 cents a gallon back then. And let's face it, parking was maybe up to $5. Now, I'm going somewhere with this, folks. You're going to find this show very interesting. So it's not a drive down memory lane or a train ride down memory lane. No. Today's show deals with what it cost to go to not only a game, and what are your options to travel to, and what are your options once you're inside the stadium. Never mind the ticket price. Ticket prices are expensive, period. I don't even want to spend too much time on it. But think about concession. And I have to tell you that 50 cents for a hot dog and a Coke, and you think of what does 50 cents stand for in today's time is really what we're after. So we'll go to what is, yeah, I'm not going to tell you the year just because it's, well, I'm kind of dating myself, so we don't really want to do that. But when you look at the cost of, well, what 50 cents was worth at that time here, what was, okay, so what is 50 cents worth from, we'll just say from 1975 versus today's time. Okay. Well, the cold hard reality, according to your favorite search engine that rhymes with noodle, it is $3 and we'll call it $3.07 according to this. Now, the inflation rate, they say the dollar experienced an average inflation rate of 3.62% per year, leading to a total increase of roughly 513.78% over all that time. Okay, big number. But the reality is, if you go just get a Coke, never mind the hot dog, or the other way around, if you get just the hot dog versus the Coke, either way you're going to pay roughly the same amount for either one of those items. And either one of those items is more than the calculated consumer price index differential. And that's really what this is about, right? This particular argument. And you think of the contextual value. Look, then Back in 1975, you could buy a decent snack, a newspaper, or pay for a short phone call at the same price, that 50 cents. And in today's time, well, let's face it, you cannot purchase hardly a pack of gum. And I know I could go to the candy counter or I could go to the grocery store, and what's maddening to imagine is I'll go get my favorite candy bar. One of my favorite candy bars of all time is whatchamacallit. And so I get a whatchamacallit, and it is about $3.67. Well, that same 50 cents for the hot dog and the Coke, well, it doesn't spend the same as it did back then. Because even if you take the spending power of 50 cents as opposed to today's time of $3.07 to $3.12, somewhere in there, we'll call it $3.10. So for just over $3, you can't even get a bleeping candy bar that you're after. Now, there is a heavy dose of reality, because remember, at the ball game, you're already paying an inflated price for the drink and for the hot dog. And that's back in the day. So now you're paying the regular price of a candy bar, which is still more than the inflated price of the hot dog and the Coke, in my example, at Wrigley Field. I mean, that in itself. Show me the money! I have to tell you, folks, that is awfully expensive. We're going to dive deeper into this when we come back from break. Pretty interesting stuff, folks. It's sort of a heavy dose of reality. For all you listening in, believe me, this one kind of stings a little bit. Back here in a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Don't eat your way through break.
Stop it!
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com. Check them out, folks. All right, and a big welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our radio affiliates, including our friends over in Atlanta, waking up with us on WDJY 99.1 FM. And right down the road, that's 8 a.m., by the way, our friends right down the road, a big hello to you over in Auburn, Alabama. War Eagle, our friends from Montgomery, all the way over to Columbus, Georgia, listening in on WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves. That's 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, up and down the Midwest, out to the West Coast, those driving between sunny Southern California and right here in Las Vegas, listening in on Highway Country Radio 101.5 FM and 107.3 FM along that drive on Interstate 15 between LA and Vegas. And, of course, that's home of the Vegas Golden Knights, the Raiders, and the Sports Circus at 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, all the way out to our friends in Honolulu, CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees, the 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. And, of course, a big welcome into everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, Wild Charter, CBS, NBC Digital, and independent affiliates from coast to coast in select markets, Hotel TV where applicable, Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Check that group out, folks, Chicago Food Favorites. Also, our friends on all the streamers, Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iHeart, Stitcher, Deezer, plus all the others as well. In case you're just tuning in, our friends over at Vacation Buddies giving away a couple of nights in a nice luxury 3-day, 2-night getaway right here in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or in Scottsdale, Arizona. If you knew the answer to the simple trivia question I gave at the top of the show, of course, that was just about 15 minutes ago. Well, guess what? I'm going to go ahead and repeat it in case you're just tuning in and give you a shot at that 3-day, 2-night getaway right here in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or in Scottsdale, Arizona. If you know the answer, call the number right afterwards, the one that I give you. Here it is. What city is home to the tallest building in America? That's it. What city is home to the tallest building in America? If you know the answer, call 702-603-1414, 702-603-1414. Remember, Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with the station, but they want you to have that luxury 3-day, 2-night getaway right here in Vegas, Orlando, or in Scottsdale, Arizona. If you know the answer to that easy question, 702-603-1414. Call now. So, in the last segment, I gave you what 50 cents was worth today as opposed to 1975. Just going to throw that one out there. 1976, 1977. It doesn't matter, right there. So I was going to baseball games and doubleheaders and whatnot at Wrigley Field when I was a kid. Cost me a quarter to get in, or a quarter to get on the L, or on that train. Some people don't know what the L is, so we'll just say the train. And the train ride up, 25 cents. Train ride back, 25 cents. $1 to get in, quarter for a hot dog, quarter for Coke. That's it. So today's time, that same 50 cents worth about $3.10. And you can't even buy... Well, I can't even buy my favorite candy bar for less than $3.10, which, think of the inflated cost of food at games, and then we think of the regular cost at a grocery store for your favorite candy bar kind of thing. So why do we talk about this? Well, look, folks, going to events nowadays is hyper expensive. I mean, for me, I was able to mow a lawn or shovel. Well, it depends. That's because they shovel snow, but you're not really shoveling snow once you get past April in Chicagoland. But hey, listen, those occasional snowstorms in April and May
it would still yield good money. So I was mowing lawns basically from anywhere from $2 to $4. And that was enough for me for a doubleheader to go to Wrigley Field. So in today's time, we know tickets are really expensive to go to ball games. I mean, they are just so darn expensive. Just a regular game. I mean, come on, folks. Let's think about this. Maybe you go to a basketball game. Basketball game, family of four, $1,000. Football game, family of four, $1,000 or more, right? Baseball game, you can probably get away, family of four, food, everything out the door. Maybe $600-700. Maybe, I don't know. Hockey game, you probably do it for about $500. So never mind all that stuff. What I'm after here is the first part of that. Let's say you pile the family in. Let's say you already have your tickets and you're trying to do this as cheap as possible. So the first thing you want to consider is public transportation, right? If there's a way to get there, if there's a train to get there or a bus to get there, and you don't have to go through a very dangerous location, well, public transportation is certainly, in my opinion, the best way to go. Because you don't have to park your car. You don't have to worry about your things getting broken into. You just pile on with everybody and hop off with everybody. But I got to tell you, one of the train rides that I took, and this was back around 2000 and I'll say about 2007. I think it was too. I don't know. See, now I have to check. So I'm going to put hottest day in Chicago. And I'll put 21st century. All right, so let's do it this way, 21st century. And I'm going somewhere with this, folks. I mean, this is actually quite interesting. So this is the one time, and boy, I remember this. Yeah, I remember this. This is sort of like, this is one of those things that you just don't forget. So this was back July 5, July 6, all right? And it was about 100, well, wait, no, strike that. Yeah, July 5, 6, 2012? Is that what it was? Yeah. And so, if I'm not mistaken, the Cubs schedule in 2012, we'll say July 5, 6. Boy, I remember this one very, very, very well. And so the Cubs played at home. And one of my friends asked me to go to a game. And it was, folks, it was hot. They were playing, I believe it was the Atlanta Braves. So my point is here, I went to this game. And we took the train trying to relive the old times. I went with my buddy Dan. And so Dan lived downtown, so I said, all right, well, I'll go ahead and drive to your place, and then we could go ahead and take the train up to Wrigley Field. In fact, I don't think this was the exact date. I think it was, I want to say it was against the Pittsburgh Pirates. But in any event, it doesn't matter. It was so hot. And look, these old trains, the old trains from the 1940s and whatnot, 1950s, that would go up the Howard Street L. I don't even know what, because everything's color-coded now. But it was the one that went from north to south, from the far north side to the far south side, one of those train lines. Anyway, it's called the Howard Street. And so we took the train, and it was so incredibly hot. I've never had this happen before. It was so hot, we actually got off the train halfway to Wrigley Field from downtown and just walked it, because it was absolutely unbearable. And it was in that 103, 104 temperature range, whatever. And then the humidity was all the way up. It was above 90%. Just a hot, steamy, miserable, and I mean miserable game. Man, was it hot. But we think about those kinds of events. That's the reason I bring it up. So public transportation, yeah, it's a good situation. But in that particular game, I just remember that one. And let me tell you something, folks. Sometimes having that air conditioning in the car works. So if you're living in the desert, right, like right here in Las Vegas, I tell you what, it's hard to go walk to a Vegas Golden Knights hockey game in April or May, or even if they're playing deep in the playoffs in June, because, man, it is hot. So think about the idea. If you're on public transportation, it's pretty cheap, usually a few bucks per ride, right? And that's free transfers and whatnot. And I think even the bus rides here are about $2.50. And our public transportation is really good. I'm just using this as an example. In Chicago, the trains and buses and whatnot, it's about $2.50, $3 as well. Same thing in New York. It's probably about $3.50, right? And remember, there's no parking fees. And I don't know what it is in Houston or some of the other cities. I know the Bay Area is a little bit more expensive, but there's no parking fees, which is great news. And you don't really have to worry about the stress from traffic congestion because, well, in many cases, of course, I'm advocating taking a train. So we don't really have these big traffic issues on the train tracks. So congestion, not really an issue. I mean, packed trains, yeah, it is an issue from time to time. But you think of driving. So fuel, parking, right? It might cost $20 to get to the game and pick your favorite city in America, whether it's Atlanta, Seattle, San Francisco, whatever. And then to park, it's anywhere mostly from $50, as I've seen on the cheap, to $200 to park the vehicle, right? And also think, driving is usually slower in those heavy pounded areas with traffic, right? And then you think of, well, hey, there's routine maintenance costs and wear and tear on the vehicle and with increased mileage and so forth. So look, end of day, you're better off taking transportation. It's a hell of a lot cheaper, a hell of a lot more efficient, and you just got to hope that you're not going through a bunch of bad neighborhoods where your life could be in danger. In some places, I would say that could have been the case. However, if you have the opportunity, yes, public transportation versus driving your own vehicle is clearly the champion. And in the next segment, I'm going to come right back with driving your vehicle versus one of those rideshare kind of situations. So let's try to find the cheapest way to go to events, the cheapest way to eat at events, and basically how to get food in at events. How do you like that? Back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Don't go anywhere. Trying to save you some money. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Are you or someone you love struggling with an addiction to drugs or alcohol and want to be set free from the chains of addiction? Then call Addiction Helpline America right now to get the help you need. From drug and alcohol addiction to dual diagnosis treatment, we provide a confidential helpline to help people like you get sober and live happy, substance-free lives.
Treatment helped me get my life back. I was so addicted, the only person I could focus on was myself and what I needed. I hit rock bottom and lost everything. Through treatment, I was able to overcome those demons and focus on my family again.
I used until I overdosed and almost died. That was the end of the road for me. After seeking treatment, I now have hope. I learned skills that help me deal with life on life's terms.
800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. That's 800-426-4994.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Investors, keep listening to learn how to get your free gold report. A currency crisis is upon us. The U.S. dollar has been the world's reserve currency for over 50 years, but that is changing. It's time to protect your retirement. Decades of reckless borrowing and spending have critically weakened the dollar. The U.S. has become the world's biggest debtor with over $35 trillion in debt. Plus, the dollar's become weaponized. Countries are dumping it. Investors Others who wait until it's too late could lose big. There is one safe haven, gold. Diversify your portfolio with a physical asset they can't take away. Call the Reagan Gold Group right now and ask for your free gold guide. Here's our number.
800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. That's 800-876-7041.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the MTV studio, AAMP television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, recorded shows, which can be found again on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iHeart, Stitcher, Deezer, plus a whole bunch of others. Also, check out the partners page. Lots of great partners at thesportscircus.com. And, of course, one of our favorites, Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. That's Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. If you can't make it over there for some great food, check them out at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. Read all about the creation of the famous Italian beef sandwich of nearly 120 years ago. They are the creators. They've had their store open since 1938, serving up great food. And again, that is Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. And check them out at alsbeef.com. Boy, that's good stuff. All right, welcome back to everybody on radio and TV. You know who you are. Talking about the cost of getting to the game or getting to the concert, whatever it is. Let's just stick with games. So, obviously, it's cheaper to take public transportation across the board than it is to take your vehicle. So let's do this. Let's take another step. Maybe you don't want to take public transportation, period. You want a car or a truck, whatever. What about the idea of the rideshare company versus driving to the event, right? Let's try to get there the cheapest way possible, the safest way possible. And if you don't like big crowds, then maybe driving your own vehicle is a good choice. But then again, you have the increased cost of wear and tear on your vehicle, gas, parking, and so forth. So let's try an alternative. How about the rideshare company? So look, we know driving to these events, well, let's face it, you could save money in different ways. But then again, sometimes there's internal costs and external costs. But taking the rideshare offers largely better convenience by avoiding traffic congestion and high parking fees. I wouldn't say avoiding traffic congestion. I would definitely say, high parking fees. But when we think about the congestion thing, that's just a matter of travel planning. Do you get to the event late? Do you get there, maybe if it's a baseball game, do you get there in the second inning and have no traffic? Or do you get there early, maybe during batting practice when there's a lot less traffic? I mean, look, parking is typically cheaper if you arrive very early, as I mentioned, while those rideshare companies excel at, well, avoiding the stress of navigation of those crazy congested areas. And remember, there's also extra fees. So with the rideshare companies, the big positive is drop off closer to the venue. You don't have to park and then walk, whatever. And of course, if you're having adult beverages, this is the safe way to go. But the negative side, when you think of the expensive surge pricing, and we're talking basically 50,000 people leaving an event potentially simultaneously. It's hard to find your ride company, and sometimes you got to walk to some kind of a less crowded pickup spot, but then the wait time is usually pretty darn long. Because remember, those cars are fighting traffic to do what? To get to the stadium or the venue in the first place. So yeah, when they drop you off, so you walk a few blocks, whatever, and that's how you try to avoid the high service fees and so forth, but eventually they know what you're doing. And so it's awfully hard to avoid paying some kind of an extra fee. So yeah, driving to the events. Yeah, we kind of clear our throat with that one. I mean, look, it's a little bit cheaper to drive there, and you could leave kind of without waiting for a ride. But the problem is you still have congestion to sit in. And then you've got that blasted parking fee, which could be, I don't know, $50 to a couple of $100. I think at Soldier Field in Chicago, it costs $200 to park a vehicle. Some crazy number. I don't know, just using that as an example. I can't imagine what it is at Yankee Stadium or Chavez Ravine in LA to go see the Dodgers. It is not cheap. Nothing is cheap there. California is really expensive. Atlanta, it's a good situation if you actually just literally rent a hotel room right next to the stadium at Truist Park. I mean, what a great park, and it's a great setup over there too. But again, the cost of the hotel room, boy, I mean, that's not going to be cheap either, because that's an expensive hotel. It's a nice one. And there's no cheap food over there either, in case you're keeping score. I've already been over there and I saw that one. And again, if you're driving to the event, well, you can't really do much drinking of adult beverages. No, because that is awfully expensive if you get pulled over or worse. But if you get pulled over here in fabulous Las Vegas, from front to back, somebody told me in a law firm recently that from the time that you get pulled over and you go through all the DUI stuff, whatever that means, like the paperwork filing, the posting bail and all this other crap, it could cost up to $20,000 to get a DUI from front to back here in Las Vegas. And I got to tell you, folks, that is not cheap. Show me the money! And I'll show you a get out of jail card, I guess, if you're going to look at it that way. I don't know. But it is awfully expensive. So, I mean, look, really the big considerations in this whole thing is, look, if you're within 10, 15 minutes, driving is usually a better option. But if you're pretty far away, the rideshare companies seem to be the best situation. And really, if you can arrive a couple of hours early, parking is really easy. But of course, if you're arriving right there at the event kickoff time or first pitch time or puck drop time or tip-off time, it's expensive. Even if you get there a little bit later, it's not going to really go down in price. But what's worse is then everything's going to be all parked up. So there is a bigger problem. So, okay, so let's just say you're in the event, whatever it is, right? And now you think, all right, how much do I have for all the concession? Never mind the souvenirs and stuff like that. But look, concession stands at pro sporting events, they're pretty darn expensive. There's always the big markup. And, well, let's face it, it's not cheap. So when you look at the comparison or the general prices at sports concession, look, it's really high, and the price rises like that's about a 400% markup. I mean, it's a pretty big number. So what options do you have? How do you get around this? Well, just remember, the typical prices, for example, maybe $15 to $20 for an adult beverage to have a beer, and it's $10 to $15 for a hot dog, and even higher for combos and other sandwiches and this, that, and the other. That's really expensive. I mean, some places have some crazy pricing once in a while, but they get you on ticket costs. Even down in Atlanta, their football stadium, like they have the fan-friendly pricing, whatever, offering sodas for a couple of bucks, meals for $5. But the reality is the ticket price and parking, they get you. Either way, they're going to get you. And even with the kid prices, they're going to get you. So what can you do? The first thing that you consider is one of those food delivery companies. Because I'm not going to name the one that I'm looking at because, well, they're not paying me, so why should I? But what I will tell you is one of those rideshare companies also has a food delivery situation. And, well, let's face it, while that organization, for example, they add a significant fee for service and delivery and tips involved, it still can be cheaper. How do you like that? So that's the one thing. Look, they have base pricing for food on apps. And it can be more expensive than in-person restaurants due to commissions and so forth. But let's face it, costs aren't nearly as bad from top to bottom on those food delivery situations. And so some of these food delivery services are now used inside the venues so you can order from concession as well, allowing for in-seat pickup or to avoid waiting in a line so you don't have to miss the action. But when you're getting it from the outside, it's actually cheaper. How do you like that? So let's face it, if you're ordering to a home, those food delivery companies, they're usually pretty cost effective, but they get you in tipping. So it's like you almost have to hope for bad service so you don't have to really tip them, if you know what I mean. I'm sorry, folks. I have to think about stuff like this. I mean, look, this is not a matter of being cheap. It's a matter of being sensible. So if the service is good, you tip them good. Real simple. If for me personally, if the service is awful, I won't even tip them. I don't care. Because remember, they're in the service business, and that's what you got to look at. So concession and food delivery, I think it's actually a pretty good situation. So when you look at these, stadiums like Dodger Stadium, Angel Stadium, Yankee Stadium, Capital One Arena, Minute Maid Park, PayPal Park, I don't even know where the hell that is, SoFi Stadium, they all have this delivery service. And even for the San Diego Gulls hockey games, if you're down at San Diego, concessions can be delivered directly to the seat as well. And so from an event coverage standpoint, let's face it, it's not just sports. It's also concerts and other live entertainment too. Now that's kind of cool. And so, of course, there was a big partnership between one of these big food delivery companies and another. So now they're really starting to capitalize on food delivery. So there is an option. And food delivery, I believe, is actually cheaper than buying the concessions at the game in the first place. So, hey, I'm trying to save you money, folks. That's good stuff. All right, back here in a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Listen, were you forced into getting a solar contract and now you just don't want it anymore? Maybe the solar company misled you. Or is your solar contract buried with hidden fees? Are you not saving the amount of money you thought you would on your energy costs? Don't worry. At the Solar Exit Hotline, we can help you cancel your solar contract, even if the panels are already installed. Our experienced legal team will review your contract and help you cancel it, possibly saving you thousands of dollars. You got to call right now for complete details. So listen, if you're not happy with your solar contract for any reason, we are here to help you cancel it. Call the Solar Exit Hotline now for immediate options to help you exit your solar contract. This call is 100% free.
800-485-3125. 800-485-3125. 800-485-3125. That's 800-485-3125.
Are you or someone you love struggling with an addiction to drugs or alcohol and want to be set free from the chains of addiction? Then call Addiction Helpline America right now to get the help you need. From drug and alcohol addiction to dual diagnosis treatment, we provide a confidential helpline to help people like you get sober and live happy, substance-free lives.
Treatment helped me get my life back. I was so addicted, the only person I could focus on was myself and what I needed. I hit rock bottom and lost everything. Through treatment, I was able to overcome those demons and focus on my family again.
I used until I overdosed and almost died. That was the end of the road for me. After seeking treatment, I now have hope. I learned skills that help me deal with life on life's terms.
800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. That's 800-426-4994.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. B-E-E-P-I-N autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, make sure to check out the store at thesportscircus.com. Lots of great items, hats, hoodies, t-shirts, ball caps, beanie hats, I said, as well as coats, sweatpants, coffee mugs, travel mugs, pillows, mouse pads, all kinds of cool items with the clever Sports Circus logo on them. That's the store at thesportscircus.com. Check that out, folks. Lots of cool American-made products. And guess what, folks? An extra 10% off if you mention Ringmaster Sal right here on the circus. Of course, an astounding round of applause for all things Sports Circus, if you know what I mean. Just because. All right. And welcome back to everybody at radio and TV and everybody streaming as well. Pick your favorite CBS, NBC, or Fox or independent sport affiliate, or all of our television affiliates, hotel TV, etc. And again, Chicago Food Favorites, thanks for joining us over there. That fun group talking about food, your favorite restaurants, favorite recipes. Make some friends all around the world. Have some fun. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Nice round of applause for them. All right, so we already talked about food for the most part. Getting to the event, getting to the game, getting to the event, and basically not blowing a bunch of cash on that. So when you think about a couple of the marquee events here in this country, you have the Super Bowl, you have Formula One. And these are probably the two most expensive events that you can go to. Now, you know, Super Bowl tickets are pretty expensive, $4,000, $6,000, $10,000 a pop. And I mean, even the crazy seats, the ridiculous ones, 60 G's. That's right, 60 G's. Really expensive. But remember, Formula One, it's relatively cheap from the general admission side, maybe up to $1,000 or something. But the premium paddock seats, 10 G's plus maybe 20,000, 30,000. Then the boxes, 50,000, and so forth. So the Super Bowl ticket cost is pretty expensive. We know that. I mean, look, those tickets get really expensive. Formula One gets super expensive. The suites are crazy. But remember, the difference in just in tickets alone, Formula One tickets generally cover the 3-day weekend, while Super Bowl tickets are just for that one game, which is basically a few. But the Super Bowl represents the single massive once-a-year event, whereas Formula One is a series. So they're all over the place. And so, yeah, there's a cost factor, but the VIP suite experience for a full weekend at a Formula One event seems to be a pretty cool thing. So you ask yourself, is there a difference, a price difference in concession at the Super Bowl versus Formula One, right? These are the two, arguably, the most expensive situations here. So Formula One, and we'll just go back to the one they had in Miami, for example, it generally features higher, more luxury, gouging concession prices than Super Bowl. I mean, by a long shot, too. Items like a $280 lobster roll. Come on, man, that's ridiculous. Even $100 for golden glizzies. Yeah. And we made sure that we let the booze, the chorus of booze, goes for a long time. Because if you don't know what a golden glizzy is, folks, it's a hot dog. That's right. It's a hot dog. $100 hot dog? Are you kidding me? I mean, look, the Super Bowl for an expensive burger is kind of expensive, right? So they say, the search engine that rhymes with noodle, the Super Bowl focuses on high-end stadium fare with prices from we'll go in the time machine here, 2026 prices reaching $180 for a specialty burger and $23 to $36 for a cocktail. Well, that's pretty expensive. I mean, standard items, $10 for a hot dog, $15 for some kind of a bratwurst, $20 for nachos, which, think about this, folks. You can buy a couple of dollar bag of tortilla chips, pick your favorite ones, and you can find some kind of a cheesy goop to put on them for a few bucks. So for $5 for a whole giant package of them, you could probably make 5 or 6 plates of nachos. And that's what they're charging times 5. So it's really expensive. Drinks, $19 for a beer, $23, $36 for a cocktail, even $8 to $8.50 for a water or a soda. So the average person spends $86 a person at the Super Bowl is what they're saying. However, Formula One. So you say the ticket prices are a little bit cheaper? Haha, here's the difference. It is ultra luxury. Remember that $280 lobster roll, $100 hot dog, $190 for wings or nachos, a $12,000 bottle of tequila? Oh yeah. Even the general concession is about the same price as Super Bowl, but now you're talking some crazy high-level stupidity and gouging as I see it. And so Formula One sets the record for extreme luxury items. I mean, even caviar. That's right. Aimed at, of course, those high net worth people. While the Super Bowl features high-priced luxury brands and traditional stadium food is a big difference. Super Bowl prices are generally consistent across the stadium, whereas Formula One has extreme disparity pricing between general admission and the high-end club arena. I'll tell you what, somebody offered me an option to go to one of those luxury boxes at the Formula One here in Las Vegas. And they were telling me about the prices, what it was at Miami. They said, well, be prepared. I said, well, wait, your company pays for stuff like that? They said, yeah, hopefully they'll pay for it. So I said, you mean to tell me I'm going to have $4,000 to $5,000 just for food? Yeah. That's when it gets to that point like, okay, now I'm going to compare that 4 to 5 G's to arguably the best food experience I've ever had in these United States of America, and arguably in my entire life. One time I went to a restaurant. I brought somebody to a restaurant at Caesar's Palace, and I was comped for my dinner because I knew somebody in there. And they comped me a dinner at the Guy Savoy. It looks like Guy Savoy, but it's Guy Savoy. It's a French restaurant at Caesar's Palace on the second floor. And folks, let me tell you something. This was the grand champion of food experiences I've ever had. So think about this. A 13, 14 course meal, whatever it was. They bring out the bread before a meal in your family restaurants and stuff like that and whatnot. Well, they rolled out an entire mobile bakery of breads. It was crazy. And then if you ask them if they have cheese for the breads and stuff like that, they have a whole giant cart of different cheeses as well. Crazy stuff. I mean, you wouldn't believe the caliber of food. It was absolute insanity. To this day, still in all of my years, I have never had a dinner like that ever. Ever. And it was a comp dinner too, so it was cool. So I didn't have to pay for the dinner. So I even asked the maitre d', I said, well, what would you recommend that I get? Instead of me being presumptuous, I said, look, this is my first time in here. And I said, you go ahead and you order for us what you believe that we should be having, just to get a really good idea of what the food experience is in that restaurant. And I'm telling you this for a reason, folks. because the experience itself, the dinner was, it was about $4,000, something like that. Of course, I didn't have to pay for it. But the one thing I had to do is I had to tip out the wait staff. So I was still $1,000 out for the tip. That's right. $1,000. And I've never done that before in my life. I've never paid that much for a tip for anything. But I have to tell you, folks, the experience was extraordinary. Now, when you go to these Formula One races and you're in these luxury boxes from these gigantic corporate sponsors or whatever, they have the big experience. So although it sounds ridiculous in pricing and everything like that, yeah, it is pretty darn expensive. But I have to tell you, if you have I don't use the phrase bucket list, whatever, I just check the box, so to say. So that was one of those check the box things. But that's one of those, in my opinion, the average person can't do it. That is a once in a lifetime thing. And I'm glad I was able to do it. But to go to a Formula One race has that feel. To go to a Super Bowl, it has that feel. But the crowd is different. There's a big difference in the way that stuff happens. But the experience, I mean, you might want to save up for a long time, kind of like to go on a great vacation. Well, if you're a sports person, sometimes it's a great opportunity to do what? To go to one of these once in a lifetime type of events. Because just like vacations are once in a lifetime as well, but a superstar, supersonic event, or just like the dinner I had, it's something, and it's been a long time since I was at that dinner, but I have to tell you, still an incredible, it's probably been a dozen years since I've been in that place. But what a ridiculous dinner, and I will never, ever, ever forget it. Same thing, my first trip overseas. First trip overseas as a kid, had a whole bunch of money in my pocket. I remember going from the airport in Rome to where I was, I had my accommodations. It took me 17 hours to get over there from LA to Rome. And the first thing I saw outside the U.S. was the Colosseum, Il Colosseo. I've never seen that except in history books and stuff like that. And when you see something like that, again, I'll never forget it. I saw it at nighttime. I was passing on the left side of the bus when I was going from the train or from the airport to the train station. I'll never forget it. And just like going to these events, folks, go to these once in a lifetime events. If you can do it, save up for it. But if you're going to get there, try to do it on the cheap from a transportation side. And if you can eat on the cheap, that's why I gave you all the information before. I gave you a story about what it was the cost to do something back in the 1970s to today. Listen, folks, sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes it's a colossal ripoff. But when you get those events, those are the events that you could only dream about, and maybe even for your kids or your parents or your grandparents as well. Those are the life experiences, folks. I got to tell you, great stuff. And, oh, by the way, if you're wondering if you can actually bring food into the Super Bowl or to Formula One, the answer is yes, you can, if it's a clear plastic bag and if it happens to be for somebody that has a health issue. But remember, they cannot ask you the details or to show evidence of you have a health issue. No, they can't do that. So you could say that you have a particular health issue, if you wanted to, and you could bring your food into the Super Bowl or to Formula One, in case you didn't know. That's going to do it for today's show. I'm going to see you in 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.